Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Teacher's Surgery. Let's go! Yeah. I make some noise for Amber in the building. Let's go. Make some noise for our special guest. We got K9 in the building. Hey, we got Rima. She's back, y'all. Yeah, man. Okay, so today what we're gonna get into, as you know, in the teacher surgery, we get into some chunky subjects from a teacher's point of view, from a parenting point of view, and from a social point of view. All right. So this one is about homeschooling versus traditional, like schools, right? And is it a risky alternative, or is homeschooling a risky alternative?
I don't think it's risky.
Wait, you say it's not risky? There's no risks.
No, I mean, there's always risks.
Okay.
But you have to sort of look at, do the risks outweigh the benefits? And in my opinion, it does.
Okay.
But only if you do certain things in order to make sure that you reap those benefits from it. So there are a couple of things that you can do.
Yeah.
So just from a parent's perspective, you want to get as much information from the school in which your child goes to, in terms of course, whatever subject it is that they're being homeschooled in, things like the exam board in which they're using, even if they're not GCSE students, they're working towards that, right? So you want to know the exam board in which the school is dealing with, and relay that information back to the tutor. And also you want to try and see the ways in which their school sort of do particular things like marking their work, so as to not confuse the child with the tutor, because the tutor is supposed to add to whatever they've got going on at school and not sort of take a different path altogether. Otherwise, it gets so confusing for the child. So the tutor then takes that information back, and as a professional, they should be able to adapt their style to cater to that child in need.
Okay. Kenan, you said there are risks.
Yeah, there are risks. I feel like, firstly, parents need to have the education to be able to teach.
I was about to say that.
To teach. This is why we have teachers and why they're qualified to do what they do.
Someone.
Yeah. But then there's also like aspects of like going to school and the social aspects of it. You know, the learning to be social with other young people is a big benefactor, like in going to school. So having homeschooling, you miss out on those social aspects of it.
You know what? I'm gonna read actually, and just by the way, when you said it's a big benefactor, I'm thinking it is, and it is. A lot of people, the traditional, when you say homeschooling, people are like, they don't get to socialize. But actually, you see a lot of people that come from certain environments that actually you don't want your kids socializing in those environments, right?
But they need to go to school to learn the different types of people, to have healthy relationships and what a healthy relationship looks like, and other sort of kids to stay away from. If you don't have that interaction, you're not going to be able to decipher. What if they become
one of the kids that the other kids need to stay away?
They do, but that's a part of their journey. Right, that's a part of their journey, and identifying who they are, and then, taking it from there. Read.
I know you want to go, yeah? And by the way, guys, if you got any questions or like things that you want to ask us, let us know, and then we'll read it out. So we've actually got one that somebody messaged us, right?
Who is this?
It's one of our listeners. Oh. So it's one of our listeners, yeah?
Is it a child?
No, it's actually a parent, yeah? So she said that, okay, so it's, all right, so I thought I was making the right choice. My son was falling behind, struggling with anxiety and getting lost in an overcrowded school system. So I decided to homeschool him. At first it was great, no more bullying, no more stress. But now I feel overwhelmed. He's lonely, I'm exhausted, and I'm worrying I'm not giving him the education he needs. So what do you think of that then?
Well, I was going to say that I partially agreed with what you were saying about the risks, but I just feel that parents are making the quick decisions of, oh, my child is not being taken care of properly in the school system, so I'm bringing them out, but they don't actually know what they're doing. But then at the same time, it's like, they're not even putting them in group activities or extracurricular activities where they can get the social interaction. So there are so many things that young people can get involved in that don't evolve around school, like maybe putting them into swimming or putting them into a performing arts group, but then that also costs money.
Mm-hmm.
So I just feel like if they know what they're doing, then it can work. I just feel like this parent that you're talking about has made a rash decision to say, I'm taking my child out. And they
Hasn't
didn't
thought it
even,
through.
they didn't think it through. They didn't even do no homework, no
Yeah.
research.
Yeah.
But then you'd say that they need to do that.
Well, yeah, they need to do that. And I totally agree with what we've sort of been discussing here, because if you notice what I said, it was more of a collaboration with the
Yeah,
school.
I agree.
But taking them out of school together, that's a different thing.
Yeah,
that's a different thing.
I agree.
I mean,
You can't just up and do things like that.
If there's a lot of support in place from the school to support the parent to homeschool as a collaboration, then I think it will be more beneficial and
So,
Yeah.
positive.
so then, what's the point then?
But it should be the option, you know. Parents should have the option to want to homeschool if they want to. But again, there should be something in place to support that from the school, from local authorities, from schools.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've seen, right? There's people that are not happy with some of the curriculum,
It is.
discussions on identity, social messages, or whatever
Yeah.
the case is, and a lot of parents that come from, let's just say, cultures, backgrounds, or belief systems might not feel comfortable with the way certain things get taught, right?
Or
So that's one of the
exposed.
reasons
Yeah.
why somebody may want to do that. But also some of the other benefits is, I do think a great benefit, honestly, is that I've seen people talk about, and again, you guys are teachers. I don't know if I'm teachers, right?
Please
but
do.
The classroom,
Do it.
classroom isn't necessarily a place for natural learning, right? The learning with informal learning is where you do a great deal of learning, right? And that the formality of the classroom, the whiteboards,
structure.
etc., the structure. For example, like children that maybe have ADHD, other kind of concentration issues or anything like that, that system or structure doesn't work for it. Whilst where they're comfortable at home, you know, you make activities at home with the homeschooling. Does that not? I see you. Yeah.
I
see
need
you
to
not.
intervene because homeschooling has changed so much now. Where we hear homeschooling, we assume the child's at home and they're just learning that way. There's actually organizations that have been created now where young parents are taking their young children to a session
Yeah.
where there's a group of children there and they're all learning together. I think the onus is on the fact that they get to decide what their child is learning, whereas, like what you said earlier, when they're in the school,
a set
they're having to learn all the whole curriculum, the good and the bad, what they choose not to want to listen to.
So shouldn't we tell this lady that asked with a question where to find these organizations, because she's obviously just on her own doing it?
Yeah.
She says one of the key things she's saying is that she's exhausted,
Yeah.
right? So she obviously
She needs
help.
support. She needs support, and I think where the young person originally went to the school, she should go back and see what support they can offer her to continue homeschooling.
Can I also just say that our education system, it has its flaws, but it's not completely flawed and in the gutter.
Yeah.
She's not happy with school. I think she needs to give that school a bit of time in terms of really finding out what it is they could do to improve the situation. If that fails, what's to say there isn't another school? I mean, we all know of kids that transfer schools. Finding a school in which is a little
That's
bit
another
more
Better experience.
Especially
Yeah.
the bullying.
with the bullying,
of course.
exactly.
That's a good thing.
And maybe even a school that's more aligned with some of the ideas and
Okay.
maybe even beliefs that she has.
Is it hard to transfer schools? I don't know.
Depends
is it
which
easy
year
as a
group
for
the
parents
child's
to
in.
transfer
Yeah.
schools?
Depends the year group as well, and the
Okay.
Yeah.
spaces and things like that, and the
And
location.
the need and the circumstances
Yeah.
around it,
Circumstances,
yeah,
yeah.
or the circumstances for
Okay.
moving.
But I think we shouldn't assume as well that schools are all nice and they're going to go, oh, yeah, we'll take the time to let you know what your child needs to do at home. Teachers
They
are
need to be
literally
hands-on.
overloaded with
Yeah,
work.
they
They
are,
don't have
they
the
are.
time. They're
But
like,
there
you
must
book
be
an
websites
appointment.
and other organizations, right? So there you go. So anyway, so that wraps up this episode. So to that lady, I hope you got the answers you needed. To anyone else in similar situations, right? And if you do have any questions, feel free to hit us up on the teacher surgery, and maybe we could even hit this question up again and go more into detail. But yeah, all right, that's another episode of the teacher surgery. Let's go.